Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another video here. So I wanted to talk about Rick. I haven't talked about Rick in quite a while, so I actually want to talk about this character and not just the usual stuff in terms of like when are we going to find out the news, this and that. I actually want to talk about the character because we're starting to get to the point, at least after part 3 is over, where he's going to have to start being like the lead character again. He's going to have to be like center stage, right? Like very soon, because that's sort of, I guess that was almost like I mean, I can't be alone on that. Like, I think that was what everyone thought we would be getting here, right? And as soon as the Rick movie came out, was that, like, for a little bit, it was going to be all the other characters sort of doing their own thing. But once Andrew Lincoln came back as Rick in that first Rick movie, then he's sort of the center of the story again, right? And so I wanted to get my thoughts on that. I wanted to do, a video on, like, what is his story going to be for the future? And when is that going to happen? Because we're kind of at that point now. So anyways, before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want more WalkieDeck content like this. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It has been very, very quiet. And that's the one thing that I don't quite understand when it comes to a lot of the Rick stuff is like, just why is it so quiet? Are they filming the Rick movie this year? Like it doesn't seem like we have any indication that it's going to happen. But that's the one thing I'm going to say, though. Like, do you remember Isle of the Dead? We had literally no indication that that show was even happening until the day it was announced, right? They talked about like 2 years ago, maybe it was a while ago. They talked about doing like a Maggie spinoff or maybe like a Negan spinoff. Like they were just sort of in talks to do one, but there was no hint at it. Like people forgot about it. It was just something that like, oh, there's a couple ideas. This and I wouldn't mind doing something. I know there was talks of a Negan movie. So it's kind of like, there was just early stuff there, people were just sort of wondering about it and curious about it, and then out of nowhere, all of a sudden we get the fact that they have a showrunner. They have this whole story worked out. It's going to be in New York, that they've both basically signed on to it. They have a title. It's called Isle of the Dead. They came out with all of this stuff out of nowhere. And it was just like, holy shit, this stuff has been planned for quite a while now, right? So just because we're not hearing anything about the Rick movie or anything like that, it doesn't mean that the Rick movie's not coming out or whatever. But I will say, there has to be a reason for them being so quiet, because it's been quiet for a very long time. And I know a lot of what, they've been saying is that, like we want to make sure that we get this right. We're doing this. We're focusing on this. At this point, I don't completely buy it, just because I don't know how it takes 4 years or almost 4 years to work on a script, right? Like, I get it if you want to make it right. And sometimes people work on scripts for a long time. I'm not even saying that. I know some people are writing books. It takes years and years and years. People want to get things right sometimes. I get that. It's just sort of, for me, I don't buy that as being the issue, because it's like, if AMC wants the movie out by a certain date, I mean, they're getting that out by that certain date. And if you're going to take too long, they're going to find someone else to do it, right? It's pretty plain and simple. That's how all movie studios work. Like, all movie studios work like that. They have a certain schedule thing, and there's all these financial stuff. Like, they have to get it out by certain points, this and that, to see profit, whatever. And I think of it as like, that's, to me anyways, this doesn't seem to be like a script issue, but I don't think it's like a financial issue either, personally. Like maybe, but I don't think it's something where they're like, no, we're not going to do this because it's not going to make money. Like, that's the thing. People are like, no, they're canceled, this and that. I'm like, it literally makes no sense. Like, this is something that they can easily put out right now and make so much money from. Like, this, it literally makes no sense. They can put that movie out and make a lot of money from it, right? Like, they're putting Fear the Walking Dead out. They literally put World Beyond out, right? And I got like no views. They put a Rick movie out. It's going to get more views than The Walking Dead does, right? So like, to me, what seems to be happening is it's more of like scheduling conflicts kind of thing. Or it's more of stuff like that. Like, maybe Andrew Lincoln can't do it right now because he's doing this. And maybe there's a time where he could have done it, but then something happened where it shut things down. You know what I mean? So things sort of got pushed around a little bit. And then I think maybe some things have changed with the overall story, right? Like, they worked on this, they changed this. We're now going to be doing spinoffs like the Negan and Maggie spinoff. There's, the Daryl spinoff now. So maybe there's some context there, right? Like, maybe they want to explore some stuff there to build up to the Rick movie. And that's really what I feel like is the problem with all of it. I think that they knew that, like looking back at it, I think that they had this movie planned out. They were going to do whatever. And then AMC decided we're going to end The Walking Dead. And so they were like, shit, so now what do we do with some of the characters? And then I think they had to change some of that up. And then they wanted to do some spinoffs because they wanted to keep the characters going for a bit, right? And then they start to work on that, but maybe things don't work with the Rick movie, this and that, things get pushed off. I really think it was a lot of that, because you got to remember, when they announced The Walking Dead was ending, that was in like 2020, I believe. Yeah, it was in 2020. It was like fall or something, late summer, fall of 2020. Like literally, the pandemic just happened that year. Things were shutting down. Like, no one could do anything that year. And that was only like a year and a half to 2 years after that they announced it. And I imagine for a lot of that is when they worked out the story. And then that thing came out. And so it was like, what do we do now? They have to work on this and that. And I think things got postponed quite a bit. And then they had to plan out some other stuff within the universe with these spinoffs. And I do feel like we're at the point now, though, where things could actually start to come out now, because like, my prediction with all of this is that I think they want The Walking Dead to end first now. I think that, again, I think the scope of a lot of things here has changed. I think they want The Walking Dead to end first, and then they want these spin-offs to come out, basically. And I'm not saying that they have to air and they have to completely air like all seasons before the Rick movie comes out. I just think they want the story of, searching for Rick and this and that to be out. And then this way there's a lot more context with all of that. Like, that's why I do believe, and I'm holding out a lot of hope, but I do believe that there's going to be a Rick movie announcement of some sort when The Walking Dead's over. I really do believe it. I think that, it could come at Comic-Con this year, or it's going to be later on in November, at the end of November. I think we're going to be getting a Rick movie a Rick movie announcement within the next 6 months. It just makes so much sense. I don't know how, like, if The Walking Dead is over, and that's completely over, and they're doing the spinoffs, I just don't see how that, if they're quiet on it again, man, people are going to be frustrated. Like, people are going to be very frustrated. Like, literally the show's over now and nothing, like literally nothing. Then people, I think, are going to start, like, there's a lot of people like me who are just kind of look at it more, I think realistically. Like, I think a lot of people from the beginning are being very doubtful in all of it, because they're not thinking of what's actually happening behind the scenes. They're not trying to play it out. Like, they just look at it as like, well, it's been like almost 4 years now and nothing. Like, it doesn't take that long to put a movie out. And I'm like, well, no, sometimes it does, especially if it's going to be a bigger movie like this. And I don't see AMC putting out movies all the time. I'm pretty sure they only do TV shows and stuff. So it's a totally different thing to do that. Not only that, I do think when they announced it, it was a lot earlier than they were expecting. Like, I think, like, none of that was planned. I think when they announced it, they didn't even work on the script yet. They just had some ideas. And then they started to work on some things, and then things started to get a little bit, easier as the story went on The Walking Dead. And then they came up with some more exciting stuff, and then the story just got better and better. Kind of like the Daryl spinoff. They announced it right when they announced that The Walking Dead was ending, because, they don't want you to be too upset about it because, I don't know, you're a fan, and then they announced a spinoff with it. And I think it was just sort of to cushion the blow of, either Andrew Lincoln was leaving, so they announced the Rick movie, or The Walking Dead's ending, so they announced the Daryl spinoff, right? It's just to cushion that blow so that that there's going to be, something else coming soon. But I think with both scenarios, I think they were both very, very early in development, like very, very early. And so I honestly, I kind of look at it as like literally up until like probably 2020, I think is when the Rick movie script was pretty much in the form where it was like, we could film with this right now. It should be done, but I think they were unsure about it. And I think, The Walking Dead announced that it was ending, this and that. And I think all of it makes sense. And I think when you look back at all of it, now we're in 2022. It's been a few years since then. I think now they're ready. I think the script for sure has to be done. They have a clear vision of their future and where they're going when The Walking Dead's over. Everything seems to be completely mapped out now. I actually think it makes a lot more sense to actually announce some stuff this year. And so that's why I have hope for later on this year. But I also wanted to talk about, just sort of Rick. And I really wanted to talk about the future of that character, because again, he's somebody that is going to be the face of the franchise again. And, a part of me feels like, yeah, The Walking Dead's ending. It's kind of over. But like once he makes that reappearance, it's sort of like it's the start of a new era to me. Like it really is going to feel like it is the start of a new era once Rick makes that reappearance. And it's just sort of when is that going to happen? The thing is, I do believe that he just sort of has to. I think we've waited long enough. I don't know how much longer we can wait. Like, is this movie going to be out in 2025? That's a long time. Like that's 3 more years from now still. I just don't know when this movie's coming out, and I'm really hoping it's next year. I'm okay with waiting until 2024 even, because maybe they got to film this year. Maybe they even film next spring. I'm all right with that. I don't know why we would have to wait that long, but like say they actually announce this year when The Walking Dead's over, you know, in November, they actually say, you know, now we're going to be shooting the Rick movie in the spring. This is the title of the Rick movie. You know, they preview something, this and that, and they talk about it a lot more in depth. They announce the director, some of the cast and whatnot. And then that's just like, you know, for me as a fan, I'm totally cool with that because then I know it's happening. They're going to film in the spring. And then that movie might come out late 2023 or early or I guess whatever point in 2024. Then I'm totally cool with that. Then that, you know, for me, that makes perfect sense. I think we need something soon. I think we need something this year, and we need it by the end of November. If we wrap up this year and there's no Rick movie news, I really personally, I'm just going to be like, yeah, you know what? I think it's not coming out. I don't know. I won't know the reason, but there needs to be something. I think for fans, there just needs to be something. Honestly, and I do believe that there's going to be something. I don't even want to be down on it. I actually think they are going to be announcing stuff. Like, people have talked about things, right? People, like, I remember Dwayne Charles Manwiller on Instagram. I think a couple of months ago, he was asked, like, is there going to be some Andy news coming out soon, or this and that, or are we going to see Andy? Or it was like, is there going to be something Rick? I can't remember exactly what the question that was asked, but his response was something like soon or soon enough or this and that, or it was like a winky face or this and that, or I remember there being a lot of like, you know, there was going to be an announcement soon or something like that. But then I think he kind of clarified and was like, well, I don't mean like soon. So I'm thinking this year. I'm thinking it could be Comic-Con, or it could be at the end of the year. I feel very confident with that. Things come up, this and that, but again, I'm not even really thinking about that. I think things are totally fine right now, and I think that they will be making that announcement this year, and I'm definitely really excited for that because Rick does need to come back. He does need to be discussed just like currently in the story, and because honestly, it's kind of sickening for me personally. Like, I'll do a video, and whenever I add Rick to like the thumbnail or I talk about Rick, it feels like I'm not allowed to talk about him. Like, you know, he's just some like treasure that we're not allowed to talk about at all. And it's just crazy because like he's still a part of the story. But I mean, I get it because he's technically not in a way. He's removed from it, but he is the future. He's going to be making an appearance at some point soon, at least I hope. So yeah, you know, I just wanted to give some thoughts on this. I really wanted to talk about some of the stuff and why I think that, you know, I think we're in a really good position right now to find out some news this year. And, you know, obviously I don't know anything. Like, I personally don't know anything that's happening behind the scenes. I can't really say anything. I'm not like hinting at anything either. I'm really hoping, but I feel pretty good about it. I do feel pretty good about it. I do think we're going to find out some stuff this year. And I think once we do, I think the whole narrative of just how we see the Rick character is going to change, right? Like right now, the way people think about Rick is just sort of like, well, he left the show, maybe he'll come back, but he's just sort of in the background, this and that. I think once The Walking Dead ends, or maybe even at Comic-Con, we're going to find out some stuff about Rick. And I think it's going to get really, really exciting. And we'll be able to talk about him like he's coming back very soon, or our characters are going to see him very soon. And he's going to be very much in the present of the story. So anyways, I'm going to leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.